Hi all, very good afternoon. This is Nilesh. I welcome you all for the webinar on pCloudy's 5.5 release, which we have recently. Let me quickly give introduction about myself and set the rules for the webinar here, and then we'll move on to the actual presentation. So this webinar will be mostly for half an hour. These are the software features which we have released in 5.5 version. That's what we are going to talk about here. And during this webinar, since this is not an interactive session, if you have or any one of you have any questions, you can just use the questions tab, which is available on the panel for the go to webinar window which you are using it, and I'll be taking up those questions towards the end of the webinar. That way we can try to make it more interactive. All right, so I am Nilesh, as I mentioned, and I head the pre-sales at pCloudy and look after the pre-sales and the POCs for pCloudy. So we will be, without wasting further time, we will go on to the next slide to see what agenda we have, what are all features which we have in pCloudy. I'm just seeing the attendees here, and I could see that there are so many attendees who have joined. Most of them are the existing users of pCloudy from different organizations. It's good to know that you are interested to know what new features we are releasing in 5.5, and I'm sure you'll have a lot of questions around those. So let me quickly go on to the next slide to see what is the agenda for today's presentation. We'll quickly give the introduction because I'm seeing there are a lot of new customers as well who have never used pCloudy. So we'll quickly brief about pCloudy. What is pCloudy in the introduction part? We'll see what new we have launched in pCloudy's 5.5 version, what new features or what new capabilities we have, followed by the Q&A session. I'll also try to show you a couple of videos which demonstrate the features which we are talking about. All right, so quickly we'll see the introduction about pCloudy. Now, as most of the participants are the existing users, so for them it may be a repetition, but for the benefit of rest of the other crowd, I would just like to give a quick brief. So pCloudy is essentially a remote mobile device cloud test platform. Basically, we will provide you remote devices available on the cloud. These are all physical devices, be it Android or iOS, and you can do a whole lot of testing on these devices, be it manual testing or the automation testing, and we are going to see what are all testing you can actually do it on this particular platform. Essentially, you can test a lot of different kind of applications on these particular devices. Now, which are all different applications you can test on these devices or this platform is native applications, hybrid applications, mobile web applications, and PWA applications. So if you are using either of these applications for your testing, or you want these applications to be tested, you can pretty much use pCloudy to test these applications on the real devices. Now, when we say test this is a test platform, what does it mean? Will it allow you to do only manual testing? No. It gives a lot of things which you can do it. You can do manual testing, of course, the way you do it with the device in hand. The only difference is the device is not in your hand and it's available on the cloud. You can also get the device analytics. When I say device analytics, basically it allows you to get the list of finite set of devices, the list of finite set of devices on which you should be targeting your testing when you want to launch your application in a specific market, be it India or US or Europe or Australia, wherever, right? So you get the finite set of device list on which you should be testing, so you can prioritize your testing, right? You can create your test strategies better and more meaningful to get maximum throughput about from your testing. You also can do or perform test automation on this particular platform. When I say test automation, you can also create the test automation cases on this platform. You can also run the test automation cases on this platform on multiple devices parallelly in order to save your time to market. When I say parallelly, you can actually run the same test suite on hundreds of devices together and get the results very quickly, so you can eventually save a lot of time. This platform can also be used to record the work test cases. I mean, automation test cases. Creating the automation test cases is a big pain. You have to understand the technology, you have to understand the coding, you should have the right resources, and then you should be having good experience. But here we have something called record and play. You can record the work scenarios and use cases and convert those into automation test cases, which can be executed on multiple devices in pCloudy. In addition to that, we also have something called in-field UX testing. It's something which is widely used nowadays. Is before we release the application in the market, we want to get the real feedback from the real users from the market. So if that's the case, you can use pCloudy. It's a single-stop shop where you can also use or leverage the partners which we have who will be doing the in-field UX testing for your application. So it's basically the real users across the different parts of the globe who will be doing your testing. It's like beta, closed beta, and you will get the reports and you get the feedback pretty much early from the market before you release your application in the market. All right, so there are two ways to access this particular platform. Of course, one is through web, so you can use any standard web browser and do the testing, which is most of the test engineers are doing it. In addition to that, we also have certain plugins like for Android Studio, Xcode, and other IDEs. So in case there are developers or the white box test engineers, they want to use it through their IDEs, they can also use it through the plugins. We have three offerings: public cloud. And on public cloud, when I say we have 500 plus real devices across three different locations. We have our data centers in India, US, and Australia, and we have a lot of real operator SIEMs in most of some of the devices. So in case you want to test your application on a real physical network from different either of these three locations, you can also do that. We have the second offering called on-premise cloud, which is basically a private cloud, which is a dedicated cloud for a specific customer. And when I say on-premise, it means that particular cloud will be created or rather deployed on the client's premises, behind their firewall. So pretty much everything remains with them within their premises. This is for the companies like who do not want to share their application in the market before the kids launch the market, not even to their testing partners, right? So for those kind of customers, on-premise cloud is something which we have. And the last offering which we have is a private cloud. Again, it's a private dedicated cloud for a specific customer. The only difference between on-premise and private cloud is on-premise cloud will be deployed in the company's organization, the client's organization, whereas private cloud will be maintained by us in our own state-of-the-art data center. So these are the three different offerings which we have. Now, as I mentioned, that a lot of participants today are the existing customers of pCloudy, so they will understand what I was talking about and also the features which I'm talking about. For those who have joined first time or seeing first time pCloudy, I believe they have got a brief about what pCloudy does all about. Now let's move on to the next slide to understand what's there in the store today when we say pCloudy 5.5. Right? So there are a couple of things which we have. I mean, we are always starving to keep on adding a lot of new features, which makes a lot of sense to our customers and of course to their testing practices. We wanted to ease out their testing jobs by introducing a lot of new features. So some of the features which we have released in 5.5 is audio interaction testing, right? This is something which was lagging a lot in pCloudy, so we thought, okay, we will, provide audio interaction testing for the audio testing there. Support for the Espresso Orchestrator. Basically, Espresso was already there, but Orchestrator was not, so we have actually given the support for that now. We also have support for Appium 1.12.1. This is the most stable version right now available, so we have given the support for 1.12.1. We have something called auto approvals for the new registration. This is more from the private or the on-premise cloud, not from the public cloud per se. And we have something called longevity and performance. About the, I mean, there are certain performance improvements done across the platform, and we are going to see what is that. Right? So these are the things which we are going to see in a while in this webinar. So let's move on to the first part here, which talks about the audio interaction testing, right? So typically we have seen, I mean, the part which was lagging so far in pCloudy was um, if your application needs an audio interaction, right? If you want to, let's say you want to open a Google, you want to see how Google Assistant work on your Android phone, so you have to maybe open the Google Assistant and say, launch this application or open some thing or look for some particular text. So that was something which was missing here. We had given an intermediate feature wherein you have to actually record the voice commands and then inject that voice command in the application when you are using it. But that was not much more practical because the users who are using these devices, they want something very easy, as if the device is in their hand. When once you have the device in hand, you would certainly talk with the device. You say hi Google, so Google will open, and then it will open the text, or it will write that particular text which you are entering or talking. At the same time, let's say you're playing a video on the device, so we were not transmitting the audio back to the user. Now with this audio interaction testing what we have released, you should be able to perform both the things. You should be able to input the audio to the device, which is remotely available on the cloud from your laptops directly, and also you should be able to hear out the audio in case something is being played on the device. I have some videos on that for the sake of showing here. I'll be presenting that video in a while. Let's talk about the Espresso Orchestrator, and then we will see both the videos together, right? So as I was mentioning, Espresso was already there with us. Now what additional thing which we have brought in here is we have brought in the orchestrator, right? So it means now you can run it on or trigger the Espresso test cases from your command line directly. You can have better control. You can have a lot of controls on your test bench or on your test cases. Now apart from that, if you the existing customers, they should be able to correlate it much better. We had something called live view. When we run any Appium test cases on pCloudy, you can actually connect to that particular device and see what exactly is happening on the device, right? And that's why we're calling that was a live or um, online testing. But for Espresso, we never provided the live view, so you cannot see what exactly is happening on the devices. So with the introduction of live view on Espresso, now you should be able to see what's exactly happening on the device when you're triggering the test on pCloudy devices, right? So you can monitor that. So that's something which we have released with 5.5. As I mentioned, you can run the Espresso through APIs if in case you want to run it and you want to integrate it with your Jenkins or something, you can do that. And lastly, we also have the support for the Android Espresso orchestrator, as I mentioned here. So what I will do is, before we move on to the next part and show what exactly the other stuff we have in the store, I would like to take you through the videos to understand how the audio interaction testing can be performed on pCloudy devices, and as well as we will also see the Espresso run from on pCloudy devices. Let me quickly go to this particular video. So I'll just play this video and I'll just explain you what exactly is happening on the devices, right? So this is the audio interaction testing video, as I mentioned, and I have switched off the audio here because there is a voiceover on that. I don't want to play that. So I'll uh, unmute this when we are actually playing the audio on the device. So this is how the device page looks like. You can go to the devices and look for all the devices which we have on the cloud. And this is for the people who are new to the pCloudy. Now, if you have noticed that there is something called audio in the filter section at the bottom, there are some quick sorts. So we have latest devices, top 10, okay, and the audio. So you can just click on that audio part here, and when you click on the audio, you will see the devices which are equipped with the audio part, right? So when you move your cursor on the device, a specific device which is shown here, you could see a symbol here for the headphones, which means it is for the audio, and it will be shown as green It means the audio feature is available on this device alone, right? And when you connect to that device when you are testing, you just need to click on the connect. As you all know, you will be connected to the device. When you connect to the device, you have to go to the more options at the bottom here. When you go to the more options, you will see two options visible to you: audio out and audio in, right? So when you click on audio out, now see what happens when you click on audio out. You should be able to hear what is being played on the device. Now what we are doing is we are actually running a video on YouTube. We have just opened the YouTube, and I'll just now make this run. Okay, so I'm just opening the pCloudy video.
The date and time for which you want to book your device and click on book. Find all your booked devices under My Bookings. You can see the instantly booked device and the devices booked for future use. Booking cancellation is also possible from this page.
Okay, so what audio you were actually hearing now is basically the audio which is being played by this particular video, right? The video which was played on the device, that's what we were actually playing it there, right? And that audio was being heard, I mean, it has been heard by the user who is actually accessing this particular device. So now you have any application or any testing where you have to interact with the audio, or typically you have to listen to the audio from the phone, right? You can actually do that. Now moving on to the next part, which is talking about the audio in part, right? So in audio in also, what we will do is you have to just click on the audio in here. When you go on audio in, it will actually take the inputs here. So we are actually giving hi Google here, and see what happens when I actually make it, right? Okay, so
here we clicked on the Google voice search icon in the
Hi Google.
so
and send a voice command.
Hi Google.
Here we
so when we have just say hi Google, that particular command from your laptop is actually given to the device, and then the device has taken the necessary actions on that. So in case you are actually having a test case or the scenario where you have to do the testing for maybe voice call, or your application actually invokes the calling functionality, and the call gets connected, and you just want to see whether the call is established to your internal server or something like that. That can also be done, because now you should be able to make a call from these devices completely in terms of hearing the audio as well, right? So this is what actually we have from the audio perspective. Now let's go to the next one, which is talking about the orchestrator, right? So when we come to the orchestrator, the Espresso Orchestrator. So I just wanted to give you quick things here. See what happens here. Basically, we have a folder in which we have kept certain applications. So Android X and .apk. This is the application which is under test. We have the test suite for that, which is basically Android X underscore test.apk. And then we also have Orchestrator APK. We have test service APK. And we also need a jar file from pCloudy, which is basically pCloudy underscore espresso.jar. So you have to keep all these things together in one folder. And of course, we also have the config properties. We are going to go to the config properties now. Let me just run this. So all these files, we have kept it together in one folder on the local machine, the user's local machine. And now we are actually logging into pCloudy. Okay, so all these files, whatever we have here, right, these files we have to upload to the pCloudy server or pCloudy cloud location. So you can see, you just need to click on upload file. You have to come to my app data, upload file, as you are doing it for all the normal files, all the normal APKs. So you just need to say upload file, and then upload all these things, which we have already done it here to save the time. So I have, if you just notice, we have orchestrator.apk, the test services.apk, the test APK, the application under test, and the test services, right? So all those necessary applications are already uploaded to the cloud drive. Now let's go to the config.properties to see what exactly this file looks like. So when I open the config.profile properties file, this is how the file will look like, wherein you have to provide certain details. So first one is about pCloudy endpoint. Okay, so where do you get the endpoint from? This is the place where you can get the endpoint. Whatever the URL you are accessing to access pCloudy, that you will have to provide it into the endpoint here. The next one is about your username, which is like here Archana Gupta, right? So if that's the case, you can just come to pCloudy, go to your username and click on profile. When you come to profile, you can see your username mentioned it here. You can copy this, or anyways, if you are a user, you know your email address with which you have actually used it. But this is a place where you can get the username. At the same time, we have API access key mentioned it here, so you can copy this as well. You can copy this because this is also we are using it for the users authentication. So if I copy both, uh, and if I just show you here, we have provided the username. At the same time, pCloudy API key is also mentioned it here, right? So these are the two things which is typically needed for you to do the basic authentication. Moving on to the next part, where we have mentioned about the device duration in minutes. So this is pretty much needed. You have to be aware how long the test automation can uh, happen on a specific device. So if you know that your test suite is written in such a way that it will execute it in 5 minutes, for example, and you want to use 5 minutes, then you can just say 5 minutes. I mean, we always suggest all the users to add certain buffer there. Maybe, if it's happening in 30 minutes, you can give 40 minutes, that is 10 minutes as a buffer in case something goes wrong. But it depends upon the user. So here you can just change. We have changed it to 5 minutes. After that, you will have to use the device IDs, right? So now if you see it here, there are two things. You can actually use the device IDs if you are using it on private or on-premise cloud, because we have the participants from all the different customer base. So if you are the customers who are using it on private or on-premise cloud, they can use device IDs directly here, like 201 what we have written, and I'll tell you from where you can get this device ID. But for the public cloud customers, we don't provide the device IDs on the portal, so they can use this API which we have. I mean, mentioned it here, right? So from here, get device list, they should be able to get the device IDs, right? So they'll have to extract it from this API and then use it in the config file. However, for the private and the on-premise customers, you can get it directly from the portal, and this is what we are going to see it. So you can just come to the device.py, I mean, whatever portal is, and click on more details for that particular device. When you click on more details of that device, along with the rest of the other details, what we usually provide on the public cloud, we also provide pCloudy device ID, if you can notice it here, which is 201 for this particular device. This is unique ID for each device. So you have to copy this and use this in the config.properties file. Apart from that, you have to provide the application path, where your application test application, your service file, everything is created. Now if you see this test cycle name, so we're just copying the address from where it is. So if we just see the application test cycle name, right, it is saying new run, right? So here you can actually give the name which you want your session name to be given to your test run. So it is basically espresso org. So basically, this is once the test gets executed, the you will see the report with this particular test cycle name in pCloudy. This is what we have done it here. And after that, you can see there are certain suites, there are orchestrator, test runner. All these are configurables which you can actually do it. Now what we are doing is we are running the command prompt, and from the command prompt, we are running the jar file which we have copied on this particular folder, pCloudy _ espresso jar, and we will be running that. So all the parameters, whatever we have provided, whatever the APKs, IPAs, sorry, APKs, the test APKs, the test service APKs, everything will be taken automatically from here when you run that particular jar. Java -jar pCloudy espresso.jar, and then you can see your espresso test session has been scheduled successfully. So it is actually scheduled on pCloudy, not on your local machine. All right, now you can see the status is ongoing. So this is what we have actually come up with this particular features. Once your test cycle is scheduled or it starts running, you would have seen that on the command prompt it says ongoing. The moment the status goes to ongoing, you can actually come to pCloudy, go to the reports folder. In the reports folder, on my active sessions tab, you will see the session name which is actually triggered by you from command prompt, and you can also see an action here called live view. So you just need to click on that. Once you click on that, we will open another tab where you can see the device, the remote device view of that particular device, on which you can see what exactly is happening on the device, right? So this is how you can see the test automation is going on. So you can observe remotely what's happening on the device. Though the device is not with you, you can still go and check what is exactly happening. So you can monitor the test cases that keep on going. The execution is happening. Now we have around 30 test cases, so I'll not wait for so long in order to save the time here. So let me just quickly go to the next part here, and yeah, so many test cases that keep on happening there. So once the execution gets over, you should be getting the result saying, the execution got over here, right? And the report is generated. The URL is given to you. Now what you can do is you can actually go to this is something which we already had it, but I just wanted to showcase it for the rest of the other guys. You can go to the reports folder. In the all reports folder, if you just refresh the folder once, you will see the new test cycle, because it takes some time to generate the report in HTML format. So you can see now this is the one which we have configured, espresso arc, right? So that particular report is generated. So you can actually open that report by clicking this button, and then this is how the reports will be shown. This is how the complete summary will be shown for the things, and you just come down, you can expand all the things, you can see the test cases, you can see the just a second, you can also see the performance metrics which we will be capturing during the test execution. So here you can see the test cases, 30 test cases are done. Below that, we will show the CPU memory chart. So basically during your test execution, how the CPU was consumed, how the memory was consumed, all that information is also automatically stored by pCloudy, right? So this is how the orchestrator can be used for pCloudy, and the live view which we have mentioned. We have seen it there. Now moving to the next part, which talks about this. So we don't have much more. I don't have much more thing to showcase here from 1.12.1, but let me say you what exactly this means. So there are Appium servers keeps on getting upgraded, right? So we cannot provide all the different Appium servers which are available in the market as of now. So we will be providing probably giving you the most stable one which is available in the market. So we have upgraded to 1.12.1 because a lot of customers have moved their test to Appium 1.12.1. So we have given this support for 1.12.1. Now it's the most stable Appium version we have right now in the market. So with this 1.12.1, there are certain mandatory capabilities have already been added by the 1.12.1, which has to be used in the automation test cases. So all those things have automatically added by pCloudy, like the change log, like the platform version. Now it is mandatory field, mandatory capability which needs to be given for the real devices. If you are using emulator, it's a different story, but if you are using a real device, platform version has to be provided. So this is something which we have already integrated. So those who are using Appium at pCloudy, they can now start using 1.12.1 thing. The last one here we have with 5.5 is the auto approval for the new registrations. When I say auto approval for new registrations, now this particular feature is available only for the private and on-premise cloud, not for the public cloud, right? It is because for the private and on-premise cloud, it is a dedicated cloud. A specific customer is looking for either private or on-premise cloud, and they have their own teams using this particular platform. We have a mixed feedback from the market. So most of the customers so far were asking about controlling the registration process. So there are multiple groups in the organization and they want to register and start using the pCloudy internally, either on private or on-premise cloud. So they want one admin kind of person with their organization who will take a call, who will take a decision whether to approve that particular user or not, whether he is from the correct BU, whether he belongs to that particular group which really needs the testing or something like that. People are just misusing it. So a controlled environment was something which is needed by most of the customers, and that's what we have provided. So now what happens currently is any new registration happens on the private or on-premise cloud, the admin has to take a call whether that particular user is, of course, he's a genuine user because he might be using it internally, but does it really need it? I mean, does that particular user needs an access? If so, they will add it, they will approve it. If not, they will reject it or they will deactivate that particular user. But nowadays, what we are observing is a lot of customers they're coming and telling, you know what, we trust our employees. We have closed groups and we are making this available to only a couple of groups. And any customer, any user from that group who is registering with pCloudy on their setup, they should be automatically approved. We do not want manually approve that particular user because there is some time is getting consumed by the system admin. Sometimes the system admins are not available and then the users are not getting approvals and their testing practices gets affected. So they wanted auto approval. So we have actually provided that feature with 5.5 release for the private and on-premise cloud. So any of the private and on-premise cloud customers, if they want, now they should be able to get the auto approval process, and this is a configurable one. So you'll have to let us know whether you want an auto approval or you want manual interaction there. So these are the features which we have released in 5.5. I'm pretty sure a lot of participants from today's webinar will also get benefited of these features, if not all, some of them. Yeah, so with this, I would like to move on to the Q&A session. Now, before Q&A session, of course, the last part which I just missed is the longevity and performance, right? So this is something which we have, which we are trying day in day out. Every day we just wanted to see whether we can improve the performance of the platform, whether the longevity is increasing day by day for the different kind of testings or for the different for the entire platform as such. So this is our ongoing process right from day one of the product was launched in the market. So this is something which we keep on going. But here with this particular release, we wanted to mention it explicitly because we have introduced a couple of things which are really bringing in a lot of changes in the performance and which users can differentiate, they can see, they can experience. So one of the thing about this is longer period testing stability in the Appium. Earlier we have seen that it was the device was stucking at times or it was not running for a longer time at a stretch. So that stability is achieved in the Appium automation testing. We also have got better stability now with the Espresso. Espresso was also having a lot of I will say constraints, not the issues. There were certain constraints with which we were working earlier. So we have removed those constraints more now to bring the stability from the user's perspective. Now it is more stable. You can actually run your Espresso test for quite a long time and seamlessly. At the same time, the one thing which we will keep on getting from a lot of customers for the performance for the iOS. So we have done a lot of improvements in the performance for the iOS devices. So now you can see that the iOS devices are a little faster, more smooth interaction as compared to the one which we had earlier. Now you may not experience that with the very high what do you call the high resolution devices. Now iPhone X onwards, all are high resolution devices, but you will still see the difference as compared to the earlier solution which we had. All right, so with this, I would like to take a pause and move on to the Q&A session to ask the questions to the participants. And we have already crossed 10 minutes additional because we started 5 minutes a little late. So let me see how many questions are there, and we will try to wind up the session in the next 5 minutes. Let me see how many questions I can take it from this. Yeah, so I'm seeing a lot of questions are pouring in on this dashboard here with me. Let me see which questions I can quickly answer. Okay, so there is a question from uh, Rayan. Does it mean I can use pCloudy devices for accessibility testing when you say about audio enablement? All right, Rayan. So I did not mention that we will be doing the accessibility testing there. It is primarily because accessibility testing is something which needs, I mean, the device goes in a specific mode when we actually talk about the accessibility testing, right? Now, if the device goes in that particular mode, it will be difficult for us to, work with the device. So we are not claiming that we are allowing accessibility testing as such from the audio perspective on devices. However, there are 3 or 4 different types of accessibility testing or different ways in the accessibility testing is done. So like the color inversions or something like that, if that's something which you want to do it with the device, it is pretty much possible, which you can do it on pCloudy. But audio for the accessibility testing is not permitted at this moment. I mean, you can still use it, but it will not give the right uh, results to you. I hope I have answered your question. Uh, okay, so there is a question from Jyoti who's asking, can I know how to trust the application installed in pCloudy mobile devices? I believe, Jyoti, you are referring to the iOS devices. Um, Okay, so if you're asking if when you want to install the application, how do you trust that particular application? So if you are using the enterprise license, typically this happens when you are using enterprise license. You have to trust the application so that the application remains on the device. It gets installed on the device. So you can go to the device settings and trust the particular application. Typically, this is how you might be doing it with the device in hand. If you are using the enterprise license as such. If you are not using enterprise license, or if you do not want to trust the application manually by going it there in the device settings, we have something called re-signing feature. You can actually go to the device, I mean the pcloudy.com, and then upload the application to my app data. And when you upload the application, you can click on the re-sign button. Once you click on the re-sign, the application will be re-signed with all the UDIDs which we have on the cloud. Post that, if you install that application on any iOS device, you don't have to trust them. It will get installed automatically. I hope I have answered your question, Jyoti. All right. Let's take one more question. The question is from Likesh. We are using on-prem cloud, okay, and we want auto approval of the users only for 2 domains. Can we do it? Yes, Likesh. So this is what I have mentioned in the auto approval thing, right? I believe from your organization we have got this input to have this, so we have done it for you and a couple of more guys. So it is pretty much there. You can pretty much get it. For 2 domains also you can get it. I mean, you will have to let us know for how many domains you want. So if you say for your company's domain and a specific customer's domain, you'll have to let us know. We will provide those domains in the config file, and then any customer, any user who is registering on your cloud with that particular domain will be automatically approved. as a system admin, you still have an access to go and remove that user if you see that that user is not a or that user is not a valid user from that particular group, but he belongs to that particular organization. You can actually you have the controls to rather deactivate that user. Okay, followed question by Likesh alone. By when we can get the software update? So the software is pretty much there with us now. When we will update in your cloud is something which we will have to check with our infra team and your team. Whenever we will, whenever you guys are ready with the appropriate infrastructure, we can actually do that. I believe the account manager from your team will get back to you on this, and we will let you know by when we can update this to you. Okay, so there are a couple of more questions. Certainly we don't have that much time to go through that. We have already overshot by some time, so let me take the last question, which is a very big question, I believe. Yeah, it's from Anupama. She's saying I'm using iOS devices and found that it is still slower than Android. Okay, does the performance improvement, whatever you are talking about here, uh, is considerably changing the performance which I can see on the platform? So Anupam, I'm not very sure whether you have seen the latest or you have used the iOS device latest, or you would have used but you would have not probably observed that. So we have something called frame rates on the when you connect to any iOS device. On the top right corner you will see something called frame quality. Okay, so you can actually go and click on that frame quality. You will see there are four different options available: full, high frames, medium frames, and low frames, right? So when we say full, it means you are getting 1:1 pixel when you are interacting with the device. So definitely if you are using a iPhone X or any high resolution device, it means the resolution is pretty high and you need a very good bandwidth. You need a good you should not have network latency, and of course there are certain challenges from our end as well, right? Because every communication happens over USB, so there are a lot of constraints. So we cannot transmit that. You will always see a lethargy when you are connecting to the device or when you are interacting with the device, right? It is as good as like you have ultra HD TV, 50-inch TV, and you want to mirror that on your system from remote. That is what we are actually doing it on pCloudy for iOS devices as well. So as the resolution increases, it becomes the device gets even slower on your cloud on your browser. But as I said, like we have a frame quality which you can choose. So when you are interacting with such kind of devices, you can actually choose whether you want medium or low or high, depending upon your preference, and then you can change the performance of the device. So when you select low, and by default it is medium set for all the devices now. I'm pretty sure you when you are using a device, even if you're not aware of frame quality concept, you would have seen some difference in using the devices. But if you change it to low, you will certainly see further more improvements, right? I'm sure you will try that out and let us know if you're seeing any difference. So yeah, there are a couple of more questions. As I mentioned, I will get back to those participants with the answers directly. Yeah, so thank you so much guys for joining this webinar. I hope you will start using these new features which we have seen today, and thanks for your time. I will get back personally to the questions which I have not answered post this webinar. Thank you so much. Have a great day ahead. Bye bye.